All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back with another podcast from David Cly of Hexen Media Group. And today I want to talk about something that we get asked often, whether it's when we're doing a complete rebuild or we're looking at making some modifications to an existing entity. What is the average lifespan of a website? So, if you want the answer, I'll just tell you it's generally between 2.5 to 3 years for the majority of industries. If that's what you're looking for, thank you, subscribe, goodbye. But it's likely that you're looking for some more info for just that. So I want to talk about the why you should update first, or why you would be looking at doing something such as a complete rebuild. There's a few key factors that go into this, and I'm going to go through them in no particular order. The most general one is that you're due for a technology update or a technology upgrade. Generally speaking, if you have an older website, there's problems with either the PHP version on the server that you're having, which goes way above most people's heads. You can't update the plugins. There's compatibility issues due to legacy items that are installed on the site, or you're just in an older platform and likely you're wanting to switch to something like WordPress or another CMS that quickly allows you to update your content. We've been doing web design and development for a very long time. In addition to that, also the marketing and SEO. And I can tell you without a doubt, the older platforms are definitely harder to update. Whether that be due to technological reasons or compatibility reasons, or even just simple as content, they generally are not as efficient to update. So that's one of the big major reasons that people are looking at doing a rebuild on their site. In relation to that, content strategy is definitely a huge part of that. When people are looking at doing these updates, they're not wanting to not post anymore, right? They're going from a system of no updates or semi-monthly updates or annual updates to now they're looking at doing constant updates. It's not going to be easy, as I've said previously, to update an older platform. If you're working in something like the straight HTML site or something of that nature, or even one of the older CMSs like Joomla, Drupal, etc., it's not going to be as easy to update as WordPress. Now, this might sound like I'm just shouting out and commending WordPress left and right. There's a lot of reasons why we would do that, right? And we've built quite a few WordPress websites, and people really do like them. However, that might not be the best fit for your needs, so obviously get in touch if you have questions about that. But take a look and see how easy it is to update your existing site. And also, are you able to update it yourself versus always having to call your agency or your quote-unquote web person? If your content strategy has changed, you're looking to post more often, generally that's going to have some implications on when you're looking at doing this upgrade and why you would want to update something that's not as easy to post to. Another factor is going to be taking a look at the design trends and see if anything's changed in your industry or just overall. So a more modern website design is going to have lots of white space. The overall design is going to have more padding. It's going to be more airy. And it's going to be very simple to navigate through, whether that be through the menu, through the content pages, through the contact forms. Everything's going to be very simple and easy to digest. An older website is generally going to have less padding. The elements are going to be spaced closely together. Overall, it's going to look more cramped, cluttered, and going to be more of a confusing process for someone to navigate through. One of the simplest ways you can take a look to see if you're in need of an update is take a look at your competitors, take a look at sites in your industry, and see what designs resonate with you the most. Take a look and see how they present their message, what type of media they're using. We'll go into that more in a minute. And then go back and look at your own. Do you get the same feeling? Do you get the same feeling that your business is as up to date as this other one or as your competitors? Or is it obviously something that appears older? You can kind of look at it like a car design as well, right? The newest cars are always the fanciest, the freshest. It looks like a new car. And obviously, when you look at some of the other ones, you can tell that they're older. The website's really no different. Another key factor would be, taking a look at the mobile indexing of your site. So if you're tired of hearing about mobile now, you shouldn't be. A couple of years ago, there was this big stir over mobile friendly, specifically because Google was going to treat those type of sites differently. And they're still continuing on that path. Mobile friendly was something that was a major deal many years ago. And now we're actually seeing mobile first indexing. If you've taken a look at your analytics or you've taken a look at Google Webmasters, if you don't have those set up, we can definitely help you do so. So get in touch if you have a need for that. But the mobile first indexing is a big deal. You're going to see more mobile rankings going to be different from desktop rankings in many cases. And we've seen a lot of evidence of Google restricting the ranking of sites with a bad mobile experience. So what does that mean? That means take a look at your site on a mobile device and see how easy it is to use. Desktop is something that people generally look at from a design standpoint, like, oh, wow, this is so fancy. I really like the way that this looks. And then they just squish it together for mobile, which isn't really the way that you should go about it. Is your mobile experience truly an experience, or is it just a responsive version of your desktop website? And again, taking a look at not just how easy is it to use, but how is the content presented for a mobile user? A lot of times when you see these desktop sites that are responsive get squished together for mobile, you'll see a lot of those desktop elements that are really heavy conversion elements, and they'll get shoved way down to the bottom of the page because generally things will stack. And if you've got something that's really important or really cool, you'll want to show that off as quickly as possible. So we talked a little bit about, the mobile rankings and the difference between desktop and mobile, but let's talk about how the overall rankings are for your site. When you're looking at doing a website update, ranking and search traffic declines are a big part of a redesign. Generally speaking, yes, your website looks old, that sucks, let's redesign it. But generally, that's not the only reason that you're looking to do something like that. You're going to see ranking and search traffic declines often for sites that have stale content or content that's out of date or hasn't been updated in a long time. Google has stated multiple times they like to see fresh content, but that's not just the only thing. While they like to see fresh content, they also like to see content that is useful, that is well optimized for searches, and that can be through blogs, through FAQs, or generally anything that can be harder to update and publish on an older website platform. I like to think of rankings and conversions, kind of looking at those in the same bucket, if you will, because you need to take a look and see, is my ranking and search traffic declining, but also is my conversion rate declining, or is it increasing over time? Chances are, as things get more competitive, you see competitors and people in your industry updating their designs, making things more easy and more efficient for the search engine to crawl from a technological standpoint. The conversion rate's going to decline over time. Taking a look and seeing if it's as easy as possible for users to contact you in your desired method. So do you want people to call you? Do you have click to call buttons? Do you have forms? Do you have autofill forms? If you're an e-commerce store, is it easy as possible to add things to the cart, view your cart, and check out? Do you have PayPal? Do you have Google Pay? Do you have Apple Pay? And you're not going to see a lot of those types of features on older websites. It's just not something that was thought of at that time. However, there are some ways that we can extend the lifespan of your website. So let's talk about the how. We've talked a little bit about the why. Let's talk about the how you can update it without doing a full rebuild. And ultimately, some of these things can extend the life of a website. So content and media injections are going to be the first thing. Are there older graphics on your website that are obviously old, using older font styles, something that has a lot of serifs in it, or just a lot of colors, or something that's not really as clean and simple as it could be? Are you also adding YouTube videos or embeds of other media within your site? If so, and you're doing that already, it might just be as simple as updating the thumbnail in some of the YouTube embeds, or just adding some things to your YouTube channel in general and then adding them to your site. You can also do what we call a nip, tuck, or a facelift, which involves taking a look at the color palettes, updating the style sheet changes. So if I have an internal page on a site that just is really cramped and cluttered and just doesn't really display well, can I make some style sheet changes to space that out a little bit, to make it look a little bit more modern, while also updating particular font families, things of that nature? Branding updates would be another one. Changing your logo. I know that sounds simplistic, but a lot of things start with the logo, right? If the logo is clean, naturally speaking, everything else is going to be clean around it. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good fit for each other. A facelift would be like updating the homepage, which is generally like a major redesign, but it's still not a complete redesign, right? So taking the same concept and principles of updating a subpage and then applying those to a homepage, spacing things out, embedding lots of media, putting your most important explaining or converting areas higher up on the page, definitely can help something look a lot more fresh without doing the complete time sink and potentially financial sink of a total website design. You can also take a look at like your internal page enhancements and add simple things to help them convert better, such as the buttons that we talked about, the forms that we talk about, and making sure that on a mobile device those things show up at the proper place, and you're not just shoving things always at the bottom, because that on a mobile device, when you're looking at something that's vertical like that, a user's going to have to go all the way down to the bottom of the page to find those converging elements. What we do internally is on our builds, we'll do a lot of sticky elements on mobile, which involves something that's fixed to a certain part of the screen, similar to like an app, to where you have something that's always clickable no matter where you're at in the navigation, and that can help with conversions as well. So the last thing I want to talk about when it's time to update, if you've ever said to someone, I have a website, but please don't look at it, that's generally going to be the first thing that says it's time to update. It's time to put the nail in the coffin on this old design and definitely take a look at doing something new. So hopefully this answers some of your questions about what is the average lifespan of a website. Again, the first part of it, I mentioned that it's going to be 2.5 to 3 years for most industries, and that really just depends. Again, that's an average snapshot based upon multiple sources and different companies that have done studies on this. It really depends upon the industry. Generally, anything that is so aesthetic, such as like beauty or technology, those are going to be within that 2-year period on average that require updates. If you're a service type business, home services, something like that, those can extend out further. Construction is one of the ones that has the longest at between 4.5 to 5 years. But even then, in today's modern era where websites used to be something that was not really looked at as the forefront of marketing, you're definitely going to want to make sure that everything is up to date, especially if you're spending money on a marketing plan and actively driving traffic there to making sure that people see the best representation of your business. Again, this is David Cly of Hexen Media Group. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our page. We try to put out at least 2 videos per week. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. We look forward to hearing from you next time.